Show.
Hi, I'm Elena, and this is the Alchemist Show. I'm here with Justin Brewer, and we are going to be talking about what makes a great antagonist. Um, one of the best characteristics for an antagonist to have is to be equal to or more than equal to the villain, which is important for storytelling and them being a believable threat. One of the best examples of this is Doc Ock from Spider-Man, who's both Spider-Man's equal and his superior. Equal in physical ability, superior in intellectual.
Another example would be Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood from the Batman universe, and Morrill from Ninjago.
Another great thing for the antagonist to be is everything that the hero is not. Most classic example, the Joker and Batman, them both being near complete opposites with each other. Joker seeming to not take anything seriously, whereas Batman takes just about everything bone-chillingly serious.
And another good example would be Brainiac from the Superman universe, who collected knowledge and destroyed anyone in his way, as where Superman would just, I'm gonna punch this man, and hopefully that fixes it.
And if it doesn't, we're punching him again. Another really good example, getting out of the comic books, is President Snow from the Hunger Games, who is a very methodical thinker, because in the movie we see he's a very old man who definitely could not physically keep up with Katniss. Though with Katniss's personality and her being very brash and instinctive, having a very intelligent, very cunning person be her main villain was a very good choice. It definitely made her grow as a character. Another great characteristic of a hero is being everything the hero is. And one of my favorite examples of this, because a little bit of biasy, one of my favorite villains is Viggo Grimborn from Race to the Edge, How to Train Your Dragon. He is a dragon hunter that Hiccup and the Dragon Riders have to face in, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but he showed up in season 4, right?
I think so, yeah. And I think he showed up for a little bit of season 1, didn't he?
No, season 1 was strictly Dagger. It was strictly Dagger, and then we got introduced to Riker, and then Vigo was alluded to, like, end of season 3, I think. And then we finally got him in season 4, and I'm gonna be honest, I thought he was gonna be the main big bad for the series, and then they pulled out Krogan and the twist villain, which was very good on DreamWorks' part. But back to Vigo, he was basically like the evil, quote-unquote, version of Hiccup. Both geniuses, way ahead of their time, methodical planners, Vigo was, in a lot of ways, like the perfect predator, like for a dragon.
Right.
That sounds a little weird, but it's the best way I can think of to word it right now. Another thing you really have to keep into mind when making a villain is their motives. Because if a villain's just doing something to do it, it just kind of seems like whenever you have a plot point that's just too convenient and your reasoning is a wizard did it, it just
Doesn't make any sense.
yeah, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
These motives can also enable a connection from the viewer to the villain, like with the case of Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Zuko dealt with a lot of trauma and family issues growing up.
Which made his motives relatable to a good number of people, so...
Yeah, because really what he wanted was not his honor, but family acceptance. He wanted his father's love, and he thought he could get that through capturing the Avatar, which explains his actions in the first season. And then as we move on, Iroh kind of breaks that down, and he sees that he really does not need or want the love, quote unquote, that his father and sister can give him.
And another good example of having good motives is Jason Todd. Batman pretty messed him up pretty badly.
Yeah, let's be honest, Batman messed up all of the Robins.
Oh, heck yeah, that's why he has so many.
Yeah, 6 of them canonically, I think. There were 6 total that have ever been. 7 if you count, I forget her name, but she was the second girl Robin. But with Jason Todd, he really screwed up, like, pretty bad when you get your sidekick killed. Like, not only kidnapped by the Joker, but killed.
Yeah.
Very brutally. And then just not really doing anything about it after that happens. Yeah,
Like,
that's a nice bit of salt in the wounds. I honestly can understand why he'd push Batman to do everything that he did. This connection to the villain also makes them seem more 3D. Like in the case of Zuko, he wasn't just a bad guy doing a bad thing. He was hurt. I think he was 16 canonically when the series started.
That sounds
16
right.
16 or 15. So he was just a hurt kid.
Yeah.
Like, looking for love and affection.
Right, and he has like a giant burn scar like on his, what is it,
Yeah.
his left or right face?
It's his left side.
Right.
It's his left side. And then, on the other hand, you have Azula, who, unlike Zuko, was kind of neglected by their mother and was just, like, praised for being this monster and a weapon that her father and her grandfather just exploited. And that was her version of love, which is even, well,
Messed up.
Yeah.
Very much.
It's almost even more messed up than what they did to Zuko.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because, like, you can see in Zuko's flashback of his Agni Kai with Fire Lord Ozai, that he's that Azula's watching this, and she's just smiling as he's getting his face burnt off, and that's
just not okay.
yeah, it's not at all. But you can see how she would develop into that, having a parent like Fire Lord Ozai was beyond having a few screws loose. Another thing that makes fantastic antagonists is the antagonist being able to challenge the hero in a whole bunch of new ways. Like we were just talking about, Fire Lord Ozai really makes Aang question his morals and worldly values. Because as an airbender, Aang believes that all life is like sacred and that he shouldn't kill anyone or anything. He's a vegan.
Right.
And at the end of the third book, everybody's saying you have to kill Ozai, and that's just not gonna fly with Aang.
No, and he doesn't kill him. He only depowers him.
Yeah, which that was our first look at energy bending in the Avatar universe, I believe, which was impressive. Talia al Ghul, the son of the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, also challenges Damian Wayne in kind of a similar way, because son of Batman and Talia al Ghul. So, interesting family dynamic there. Her always trying to be able to get him to come back to the League of Shadows. Or, not the League of Shadows, the League of Assassins? So we are running out of time. So that's all we're going to get to today. Thanks for listening.
About 20% of students are bullied each year. Out of 100,000, 7 will commit suicide. Bullying is not a joke. It's time we stand together and stop the bull.
Yo, this is I this is Michael Moses, and I'm hosting today in the Alchemist Show, and I'll talk about Eminem. His real name is Marshall Bruce Mathers III. He was born on October 17th, 1972. Birthplace is St. Joseph, Missouri. Place right now, he lives in Detroit, Michigan. And I'll talk about 3 of his albums. One is the greatest, one was the worst, one was meh. One of the greatest album was MMLP 1 in statistics. The worst was Revival. The meh was MMLP 2. The most featured male out of history he had was Dr. Dre, and that's all. Least featured male artist was Grip, Jay-Z, Griselda, and Posey, and etc. But not the old artists he has worked with. Most featured female artist was Skylar Grey. He worked with her for 10 times. Wow. Least featured female artists was Ditto, Haley Williams, Gwen Stefani, and Beyonce. They were good. Yep. Most viewed song was Love the Way You Lie featuring Rihanna. And the least viewed was a mix at this point. His mom is Debbie Mathers. His dad is Marshall Bruce Mathers II. He was born in 1951. He died in 2019. His children was Haley Jade, Elena Mariah Mathers, and Whitney Scott Mathers. His siblings are Michael Mathers, Sarah Mathers, and Nithya Samara Mathers. His discography is Infinite, SSCP or Slim Shady EP, Slim Shady LP, MMLP, The Eminem Show, Straight from the Lab, Encore, Current Calls to the Hits, The Re-Up, Realize with Refill, Recovery with the iTunes Deluxe, Marshall Mathers LP2 with the Deluxe, Shady XV, Revival, Kamikaze, and Music to be Remembered by with Side B. Others like the D12 group, like Devil's Night and D12 World, and the Batman's Evil duo with only one album was the Batman's Evil Hell the sequel. And side note, by the anniversary of Infinite, he is now eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I'm not talking about him. Talk about the rumors. The rumors surrounding Eminem X, LL Cool J, and Dr. Dre's song. That's the Snoop Dogg Eminem song. The Kanye West and Eminem song. That's the rumors been hearing. Now, first, I want to talk about the LL Cool J stuff. Which, if I heard a song, I would get out of school and just say, bye, I'm going to go listen to that song. And I never really heard him sing on a song, but it'd be interesting and cool. The Snoop Dogg and Eminem collaboration, from this point, I've been hearing it's supposed to be confirmed, but it's a rumor at this point. The Kanye and Eminem song update, I heard a snippet got released. It sound clear, but not the scratchy versions. But it was on ePro, and yeah, that's what I've heard from. The albums I've been hearing about rumors was the MMLP 3 and the Music Demur by Side C. Now, I can see LP3 happening, but as well as Side C. But I would never see Side C involved, but please. That'll just ruin the vibe of the MMOP3. And that's it. And hi, that's all from me. Thanks for listening.
Hey, I was thinking we can get our workout on, like a little speedrun game.
Yeah, I'd be ready to do anything right about now. We could start with 100 push-ups and then 100 sit-ups.
That's a crazy amount of numbers for a short amount of time.
Alright, you win. My stomach hurts bad, probably from all those chips.
Yeah, all I had was soda, and all I did was shake around my belly.
I think it's time for a nap.
What'd you both do this time?
Huh. Ow, not much.
You've been working out way too much, haven't you? Slow your roll before you're in a hole. The important thing is to take care of yourself and to have fun.
Hi, I'm Justin Brewer. Hi, welcome to the Alchemist Show. I'm Justin Brewer, here with Mr. Cook.
Hello.
And I'm talking about the Planet of the Apes reboot and the original. To start off with the plot for the new movies, the first one being Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Will Rodman, a scientist in San Francisco, is experimenting with a drug that he hopes will cure his father's Alzheimer's disease. After his work is deemed a failure, Will becomes the guardian of Caesar, an infant chimp who was exposed to Will's drug. Caesar's intelligence and ability grows, and he becomes a threat to man's domain over Earth. The second one, Dawn for the Planet of the Apes. 10 years after the simian flu wiped out most of the world's Homo sapien, the genetically enhanced chimpanzee, Caesar, and his ever-growing band of followers have established a thriving colony outside of San Francisco in the woods. Caesar, as a leader, has to grapple with his dual challenge of protecting his people and reestablishing a relationship with the remaining human population, the latter being Caesar's secret witch. And now, the final movie, War for the Planet of the Apes. 2 years after the events dawn, Caesar and his apes are forced into a deadly conflict with an army of humans led by a ruthless colonel. As the journey finally brings them face to face, Caesar and the colonel are pitted against each other in an epic battle that will determine the fate of both their species and the future of the planet.
And that contrasts with the original series, which uses time travel to get these different planets. The plot of the first one, astronauts awaken from a deep hibernation, crashing into a lake on an unknown planet. The chronometer says November 25th, 3978, which is 2006 years after they took off in 1972. They find the planet's dominant species is the ape. They walk and talk while humans are mute and animalistic, which is a role reversal. And then Charlton Heston plays a character, Taylor, who's searching for a way out of the ape society. And the planet, we find out, is actually Earth after a nuclear war.
I wanted to talk about this mainly because I feel like this is a very, I don't want to say underrated, but overlooked trilogy that is really good and deserves a little bit more attention.
Well, what I think the new movies bring to it is they get rid of the time travel and they have 3 movies that take place one after the other. The original movies kind of bounce back and forth through time, which is effective. It was interesting back then, but in the new one, it's the virus or the seeking of the Alzheimer's disease, which becomes simian flu, which tears apart the world.
Right. To start things off, to compare the original. Again, the plots, the originals had to do with time travel and a lot of things. A thing I want to talk about is how the ape effects are handled both similar and different. For the new ones, they did motion capture, and the person that had to play Caesar was the motion capture man himself, Andy Serkis, who you will remember him from playing Gollum in the Lord of the Rings movies and The Hobbit. Basically, for the motion capture, they had like dots on his face, a thin suit, and trackers all over him, which tracks his movement, which they can edit in editing to make it look like he is an ape. As to where the original did mask prosthetics, hairy arm prosthetics, and such to make them both look human and ape at the same time.
And they did a good job. There was an honorary Oscar that went to the makeup effects gentleman, John Chambers. But like you said, they wanted them to look ape-like, but also have characteristics of a human. So they aren't the most detailed as what we come to expect now with motion capture. But even back then in 1968, 2001 Space Odyssey came out, and they had much more realistic ape costumes in their Dawn of Man sequence. And they were overlooked for any awards there. And some people say that they were so good that the Academy thought they were actually apes. But the Planet of the Apes costumes and makeup are iconic. The only downfall is when they move their mouths. You can almost see the actor's mouth behind the simian mouth, right. And it's kind of stiff when they talk. But overall, I think for the time and what they were trying to do, I mean, it was a low-budget film, and so I think the effects were really good. They spent a lot of time in that makeup, just like the motion capture guys have to wear those little onesies around all day.
And the motion capture suits, they're really thin. From what I have read on the internet, shooting for War for the Planet of the Apes was pretty bad due to the suits being really thin fabric, and they shot in Canada during winter time, so not necessarily the most ideal conditions to shoot.
So how did they do in box office, the new ones?
The new ones, they did pretty good. The new one's box office was $481 million, and the second one was $710.6 million, and the third one was $490.7 million for its box office.
Well, that's pretty good. And based on their budget, that's a pretty good return. The original movie cost $5 million to produce, which doesn't sound like much today in Hollywood. But that was about $32 million in today dollars, and they grossed $30 million, which is today $230 million. So that's the reason we have all the Planet of the Apes movies, is they were successful. And back in that time, merchandising was a big thing, so they had Planet of the Apes masks for kids for Halloween, lunch boxes, and all that stuff was going around too. It was one of the first major franchises.
And after movie one, they had the sets of where the apes colonized and lived. They did look very similar to how the apes villages looked in the original, where the original looked like still
Primitive
yeah.
rock formations, carved formations, or kind of stucco type
Right.
building.
Where the new ones do like a same kind of look, but it's taking place more in the woods. Another thing I want to again compare is the social. I think what's the word? Sociological themes. The ones in the new ones are not as good as the original. The original definitely handled them way better because they had the advantage of having the humans being mute and treated like apes. But with how the humans treat each other in the reboot movies, you do sort of see that, particularly with War of the Planet of the Apes, where the virus mutates and turns the humans back into a primitive species. So the Colonel starts executing people who have the mutated virus in order to stop it from spreading. And you could definitely see sort of a social theme there, in a way, in my opinion. I think you can either way.
Yeah, and the original one is a little more obvious because they had the humans, which were animalistic. Only the one guy could talk. Then you had the chimpanzees, which were the scientists and thinkers. You had the orangutans, which kind of were administration. You had the gorillas, which were
the
force.
hunters, the body, yeah.
And they said that behind the scenes, when they would, have breaks, they kind of congregated in those groups too. So it was kind of weird how that happened. They're a caste system in the movie, and they were a caste system outside of the movie, just on their breaks.
And again, back to the motion capture of this for the reboot movies, I think the motion capture was done really well, and they're really expressive, and particularly with the final one, you do feel like that they're really there. Because for the final one, it takes place during winter and it would snow a lot, and you could see the snow on the ape's hair and everything. It'll look pretty dang convincing to where you would believe it was there. Same with not with Rise, but you could definitely feel like they were there for Dawn.
It didn't look like the Polar Express or Barbie Christmas Time as far as the motion capture.
No.
Yeah, it's come a long way from the beginnings of early motion capture.
Yeah. It's come a long way, and again, Andy Serkis played Gollum in Lord of the Rings, which is again a good example of motion capture on how far it's come. And again, the acting in these movies is really good. I'm not really Oscar worthy, but they're still pretty good. Well, that's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
You're an all-star. Get your game on. Go play. Oh no, I forgot to check my email today. Ah! Oh no! Someone help! It hurts.
spark of fire doesn't expire. Know all the ways to safely put out any type of fire. Visit the fire safety website at www.nsc.org for more tips.
Hi, I'm Anna, talking about the Hellboy franchise. Alright, so Hellboy 2004, 2008, and 2019. They are all a sci-fi fantasy movie. And the first and second one are made by Guillermo del Toro from a story by del Toro and Peter Briggs, based on a Dark Horse comic graphic novel Hellboy Seeds of Destruction by Mike Mignola. The leading cast roles for 2004 and 2008 is Ron Perlman playing Hellboy and Selena Blair playing Liz Sherman, Jeffrey Tambor as Tom Mannings, Carol Rodden as Gregory Rasputin, Rupert Evans as John Myers, and John Hurt as Trevor Brudenholm, and Doug Johns as Abe Safin. 2019, the cast leading role is David Harbour as Hellboy. The director for 2004 and 2008 is Guillermo del Toro, and for 2019 is Neil Marshall. Alright, for 2004, Hellboy is released by Universal Pictures on April 2nd, 2004. Eventually it grossed $99.8 million with a production budget of $60 million. It's followed by a sequel, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, released on July 11th, 2008 by Universal Pictures, which grossed $160 million against a $85 million budget. There was also a reboot released on April 12, 2019 by Lionsgate. It was directed by Neil Marshall. Ron Perlman rejected the offer of being Hellboy due to the fact it wasn't a Guillermo del Toro movie anymore. The Hellboy reboot was a dud. It grossed $44 million with a $50 million budget production. If there's another true third Hellboy movie, it's because del Toro made the movie. The problem is he's always busy thinking about other productions. The main summary for 2004 is a red half-demon made into a superhero known as Hellboy works under the society to protect the world from paranormal threats with his crew, known as the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. They fight against the evil madman Gregory Rasputin, who tries to bring Hellboy to the dark side and destroy humanity. For 2008 Hellboy, Prince Nuada is hungry for power and wants to control the world. An ancient underground army waiting to be awoken. Nuada tries it all to succeed. Hellboy fights Nuada for the well-being of humanity. Eventually, Hellboy leaves the Brr with the few of his crew members. For the reboot, the summary is Hellboy, based on a graphic novel by Mike Mignola, an ancient sorceress back for revenge, tries to destroy humanity. It's a fight between the supernatural and humanity. For 2004, my plot favorites was Myers takes Liz out for coffee and Hellboy gets jealous and follows, leaving the broom unprotected, which was not a smart idea, although it was hilarious to me. And Hellboy and a boy are on a roof just watching them, and they throw stuff at Myers while Liz and Myers get coffee together. For 2008, my plot favorite was whenever the song Can't Smile Without You was playing. Abe was listening to popular love songs because he fell in love with this princess. And Hellboy decides to take a beer and they sing together. A cool note that I found was Del Toro approached the love story with Beauty and Beast in mind. It's inverted, making the Beauty return to the Beast and accepting the Beast in herself to love another Beast. The details for 2004 movie was Liz has pyrokinesis, actually. Hellboy goes to a mental hospital to meet Liz because she couldn't control it. Abe's a merman, and 2004, it was actually in the World War II era. For 2008, it took them back, and you find a person called Angel of Death, and that person basically tells you the future of the world, and you decide how you want to take that. Eventually, at the end, you figure out that Liz has twins with Hellboy, and that's amazing, isn't it? In my opinion, the third movie, when I watched it, I was upset a little bit about the new Hellboy, but despite that, I tried watching it anyways, and in the end, I didn't like the movie due to the total plot change. Majority of the movie was a whole different vibe. It was a more older generation of paranormal beasts. The newer Hellboy had a different personality. It detracted from the two other movies. It made me think that the second Hellboy movie's ending was pointless when you found out Liz is pregnant. I'd rather they continue with the plot of the second movie, although yes, Hellboy would have switched out eventually due to Ron Perlman's age, but the romance is gone. That's all for me. Thanks for listening. I have schizophrenia and psychosis, and sometimes it makes it hard to tell what's real and not real, especially hearing. When people I don't know start to talk to me, they get in my personal space, and I start to panic and I hear voices. I just want to be left alone.